The soft clink of crystal glasses echoed in the hallway, accompanied by the faint hum of conversation from the living room. My wedding was only 48 hours away. The invitations had been sent, the flowers ordered, the dress perfect. Everything was falling into place for the most important day of my life. I, Chris Adams, was about to marry the woman of my dreams, Lena. We'd been together for 4 years. I'd known since the moment we met that she was the one I was going to spend forever with. Lena, with her sparkling eyes and contagious laugh, had made me believe in love again after years of uncertainty. But that night, everything changed. It was supposed to be a quiet evening before the madness of wedding week took over. Lena had gone out to run some errands, leaving me to catch up with my older brother, James, who had flown in from out of town for the big day. We were lounging around the living room, reminiscing about old times, laughing over old family stories. But something felt off, like a tension I couldn't place. It wasn't the usual atmosphere. I didn't think much of it at the time. But then, around 8 p.m., my phone buzzed with a message from Lena. She was going to be back soon, she said. Nothing out of the ordinary. So, I let it slide and got back to talking with James. But then, just as I turned to grab a drink from the kitchen, I noticed something strange. James's phone was sitting on the coffee table, face up, with a message preview visible. I shouldn't have looked, but curiosity got the best of me. I glanced at the screen. The message read, "I can't wait for tonight. See you at 10. My stomach dropped. The name on the message wasn't familiar to me, but what caught my attention was the smiley face at the end of it. I quickly turned back to James, forcing a smile. "You okay, bro?" I asked casually, trying to brush off the sudden tightness in my chest. James looked at me, his expression shifting for a split second before he gave a nervous chuckle. "Yeah, just some work stuff," he replied, reaching for his phone. But the way his hand trembled when he picked it up didn't sit right with me. I didn't push it. Not then. I had a wedding to think about, and there was no way my mind should be racing over something so trivial. But the discomfort I felt didn't go away. Instead, it gnawed at me all night long. I tried to shake it off, but as I lay in bed later, waiting for Lena to come home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. There was something off, and I had to know what. The next morning, I decided to do something I never thought I'd have to do. I checked Lena's phone. We'd never had trust issues before, but something inside me was telling me to be sure. To make sure everything was as it seemed. I found the phone on the kitchen counter, charging. Her face appeared on the screen, Lena smiling at me in a photo we took last month during a weekend getaway to the mountains. Her smile still had the same effect on me, one of warmth and affection. But the message history was what I needed to see. As I swiped through her texts, I froze. There, in black and white, was a string of messages between Lena and James. It was innocent enough at first, casual talk about the wedding, confirming plans, and asking each other how they were doing. But then, toward the end of the thread, I found something that made my heart freeze. "I'm scared, James. I'm really scared about what happens next." And then his reply, "I'll make sure it's worth it, Lena. I'll make sure you're happy. Just trust me." I felt my breath catch. I needed to see more. So, I scrolled up to the very beginning of their conversation. The first text read, "I can't do this, James. It's all happening so fast." I was shaken, but I couldn't stop myself from reading further. And that's when I saw it. "I'll always love you, no matter what happens. But we can't go back now." And then, a text I'll never forget. "I'm sorry, Chris, but I'm not in love with you anymore. It's been James all along. It was always him." Everything in my world came crashing down. I couldn't breathe. My heart felt like it was being crushed under the weight of those words. The woman I had planned to marry, the woman I trusted with everything, had been lying to me. And worse, she had been lying to me with my own brother. It was James. He had been the one she had been turning to, the one she had been in love with all this time, the one who had been waiting for the right moment to tell me. I was drowning in disbelief, anger, and betrayal. But as the world around me started to spin, one thought echoed in my mind. What the hell was I going to do now? I couldn't cancel the wedding, could I? After all the time we had spent planning this, after everything I had given to this relationship, I couldn't just walk away. Or could I? Cliffhanger. As I stood there in the kitchen, reeling from the shock of the message, I heard a knock at the door. It was Lena. I quickly wiped my tears and tried to calm my shaking hands. She stepped in, wearing the dress she had picked out for the wedding. The dress that I had chosen. And in that moment, I knew I had a decision to make. The tension in the air was thick. Was I about to let the woman I loved destroy me? Or was I about to destroy everything in a single act of revenge? The decision I made next would change everything, and I wasn't sure I was ready for it. But before I could speak, Lena asked something that made my heart stop. Chris, what's wrong? Subscribe to the channel to keep up with the unfolding drama. You won't want to miss what happens next. The tension in the air was thick as Lena stepped into the room, her eyes scanning mine, probably wondering why I hadn't answered her message. She was dressed in the wedding dress that had taken months to find. The one I thought would be the most beautiful sight on the biggest day of our lives. But right now, seeing her in it felt like a cruel reminder of everything I had just uncovered. Her smile faltered when she saw my expression. My hands trembled slightly, and I felt the blood drain from my face. But I refused to let her see me break. Chris, she stepped forward cautiously, her voice soft. What's going on? You look different. I couldn't speak. How could I speak? The words I wanted to say were stuck, lodged somewhere deep inside me where the hurt couldn't reach them. Instead, I pointed to the phone sitting on the kitchen counter. I didn't want to say a word. I didn't have to. The proof was right there, staring her down. She looked at me, then at the phone, and her face went pale. She swallowed hard, then slowly took a step back. Her hands, which had once held me close, now shook at her sides. She didn't even try to deny it. She didn't offer an explanation. She just stood there, her eyes locked on mine, her silence louder than any confession. I forced myself to break the silence. You were going to marry me, weren't you? I whispered, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. You were going to walk down that aisle, look me in the eyes, and pretend everything was fine. All of this time, you were in love with him. Her breath hitched. Chris, it's not. Don't. I cut her off, my voice rising now, the hurt spilling out like a flood. Don't tell me it's not what it looks like, Lena. I read the damn text. I saw everything. Everything. You don't get to play the victim here. I could feel the anger surging, the betrayal clawing at my chest, wanting to destroy everything in its path. Lena closed her eyes for a brief second. She shook her head slowly, as if trying to gather her thoughts before speaking. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she said, barely above a whisper. I never meant for any of this to.
What?
To fall in love with my brother? The words burned like acid. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Did you think I wouldn't see the way you two look at each other? The way you both pretend to be friends? That's how I'm supposed to believe you. Huh. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she repeated, but this time, there was something else in her eyes. Something I didn't quite recognize.
It was a mistake.
I was confused. Stop. My voice cracked as I took a step closer. I was done hearing excuses. You weren't confused, Lena. You made a choice. You chose him, not me. And you've been lying to me this entire time. The whole damn time. Tears were now streaming down her face. She took another shaky step toward me, her hands outstretched like she was begging for something. Chris, please listen. But I couldn't listen anymore. I turned away, running my hand through my hair in frustration. My heart was pounding. Everything inside me felt like it was ready to collapse, but I wasn't going to let her see it. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. I could feel her gaze following me, her footsteps getting closer as she reached for my arm. Chris, I love you. I do. But it was never supposed to happen. I jerked my arm away from her touch, spinning around to face her. Love me?
How?
How can you love me when you're out there with him, behind my back, pretending nothing's wrong? You don't even have the decency to tell me the truth until I found out. You thought I wouldn't notice? You thought I wouldn't feel it? She opened her mouth to say something but closed it again, like the words had been stolen from her. Her entire body seemed to sag in defeat, her shoulders heavy with the weight of her guilt. "I don't want your apologies, Lena," I said, my voice trembling now, not with rage, but with the hurt that had settled in my bones. "I don't want your explanations. You've already made your choice." I could see the cracks in her demeanor, the way her face flushed with shame. But there was no relief in her tears, only more frustration, more regret. And it made me sick. Sick that someone I trusted so completely could do this to me. She took a step back, her hands now clasped tightly together. "Please," she said, her voice shaking. "Please don't leave. Not like this." I could feel the tears welling in my own eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I wasn't going to let her see me weak. Not after what she'd done to me. "I should have known," I muttered bitterly, running my hands over my face. "I should have known when you said you were busy, when you kept pushing the wedding off. But I didn't listen. I was blind." Lena's voice was barely audible now. "I never wanted to hurt you. I never meant for it to end like this, but I wasn't happy, Chris." I looked at her, my heart breaking. "And you thought cheating was the answer?" She didn't respond, but I could see the conflict in her eyes. She was battling with her own guilt, fighting against the realization that everything she had built with me was crumbling because of her own selfishness. I stepped back, my hand on the door. I could barely breathe, my chest tight with the suffocating weight of betrayal. The woman I loved had chosen my brother over me, and now I was the one left holding the broken pieces. As I reached for the door, Lena called out to me again. "Chris, please don't leave me like this." I paused for a moment, my heart splitting in two. I could feel the weight of her words in my chest, but I couldn't look back.
Not now.
Not after everything. But as I opened the door, I heard her voice one more time, this time breaking through the silence, like a whispering plea. "I'm pregnant, Chris." I froze. The world seemed to stop spinning for a second. I turned slowly, my mind struggling to process what she had just said. "What?" "I'm pregnant," she repeated, her voice barely audible. "And it's yours." Cliffhanger. My mind raced. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. She stood there in front of me, looking like the woman I thought I knew, but now, she was a stranger. And as her words sank in, the finality of everything hit me like a freight train. What was I supposed to do now? Would I walk away, knowing that our life was about to change forever? Or would I stay, trying to piece everything back together? But Lena wasn't finished. As I stood there, motionless, she took a deep breath and dropped the bombshell that would change everything forever. Subscribe to see what happens next. The truth is only just beginning to unravel. My mind was racing. My chest, heavy with emotion, felt like it was about to explode. I stared at Lena, still standing in the same spot, her hands trembling, her breath shallow. Pregnant. The word kept echoing in my head like a haunting refrain. I didn't know how to process it. How to even begin to understand this new reality she had just dropped on me. She stood there, silent now, as if waiting for me to say something, anything. But my thoughts were scrambled, lost in a whirlwind of confusion. I had so many questions, so many things I wanted to ask her, but it felt like all of them were suffocated by the weight of that one word. Pregnant. Finally, I managed to speak, but my voice was barely a whisper. How long have you known?" Lena swallowed, her lips quivering. She took a hesitant step forward. "A few weeks now." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away, too overwhelmed to let her touch me. "Chris, please. I didn't want to hurt you." The words hit me like a slap. Didn't want to hurt me? She was carrying my child, and she was still standing there, making excuses. She didn't want to hurt me? She had already shattered me into a million pieces. "I don't even know who you are anymore," I spat, my voice shaky, but filled with anger. You lied to me, Lena. You've been lying to me this whole time." "I never wanted this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you," she repeated, her eyes pleading with me. I was confused. And when I found out, I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how to explain it. I shook my head. "You could have been honest. You could have told me what was going on. But no, you kept it all hidden behind my back. I didn't want to lose you, she said softly, the desperation clear in her voice. I didn't want to lose everything. I thought we could still make it work. But then it all spiraled, and I didn't know how to fix it. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't stand to see the woman I had once loved standing there, broken and fragile, with the weight of her lies hanging in the air between us. The silence stretched, the tension unbearable. I could feel the hot sting of tears in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. No matter how much this hurt, I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me weak. Finally, I spoke again, my voice raw. So, what now, Lena? Do we just pretend like nothing's wrong? Do we just go on with this charade? You and me, married, raising a child, but all the while knowing that everything we've built is a lie. Her eyes filled with tears. Chris, please, I never meant for it to be like this. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. What happened between you and my brother? The question slipped out before I could stop it, and I immediately regretted it. But the damage was done. Lena froze, her body tensing. Her eyes darted away, and for a moment, she didn't say anything. Then she whispered, I never meant for that to happen, Chris. It was a mistake. A horrible mistake, and I can't take it back. My chest tightened at her words. A mistake. That was all it had been to her, wasn't it? Just a mistake. How long has it been going on? I asked, my voice trembling. I didn't know if I could handle hearing the answer, but I needed to know. A few months, she whispered, her voice breaking. It just happened. It wasn't planned, and I regret it every day. But I couldn't stop it, and I couldn't bring myself to tell you. The truth hit me harder than I could have ever imagined. My brother. The one person I trusted more than anyone. And here was Lena, the woman I was about to marry, the mother of my child, admitting to me that she had been with him behind my back. I felt the ground slip out from under me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. The world was spinning, and all I could do was stand there, frozen, as everything I had ever known collapsed around me. Why? I asked, my voice hoarse. Why him, Lena? Why my brother? She looked at me, her eyes filled with regret. I don't know. I wish I could explain it, but I can't. I was lost, and I didn't know how to handle the pressure of everything. He was there, and it just happened. It shouldn't have, but it did. The words felt like daggers in my chest. I had never felt more betrayed in my life. My brother, the person who was supposed to have my back, the one person I thought would never hurt me, had been the one to stab me in the heart. I couldn't look at her anymore. I couldn't stand to hear her excuses, her apologies, her lies. She had already destroyed everything between us, and now I was left to pick up the pieces. I don't want to hear it, I said, my voice shaking with anger. I don't want to hear your apologies or your excuses. What you did is unforgivable. I can't marry you, Lena. I can't be with someone who has betrayed me like this. Not you, not like this. Lena's face crumpled, as if my words had shattered her. Chris, please. I love you. I took a step back, my hands trembling. You don't love me. If you did, you wouldn't have done this. You wouldn't have lied to me, and you wouldn't have slept with my brother. This isn't love, Lena. This is a betrayal. And I'm done. She reached out to me, but I pulled away, my heart breaking with every step I took. Chris, please don't leave. Please, I need you. I know I've made a huge mistake, but we can fix this. We can make it work. I shook my head, my chest tight with emotion. It's too late for that, Lena. You've already destroyed us. I turned and walked out, leaving her standing there, broken and pleading. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't care. All I could think about was the betrayal, the lies, and the fact that everything I thought I knew had been shattered. The truth was out, and now I had to live with the consequences. I walked out of Lena's apartment in a daze, every step feeling heavier than the last. The cool night air hit my face as I stepped onto the sidewalk, but I barely felt it. My mind was consumed with images of her, the woman I had planned to marry, the woman I thought I knew, betraying me in the most unforgivable way possible. My brother. I couldn't escape the image of them together. The thought made my stomach churn, a feeling that was both disgust and heartbreak. As I walked aimlessly down the street, I found myself heading toward the one place that still offered a shred of comfort, my old apartment. I'd kept it even after moving in with Lena, as a reminder of my independence, a space that had always been mine. I knew I had to get away, clear my head, but part of me hoped that maybe, just maybe, I could find some clarity there. The apartment was silent when I walked in, the faint smell of dust and old furniture filling the air. I flicked on the light and stood there, staring at the familiar surroundings, everything exactly as I'd left it, untouched. My mind raced as I stood in the middle of the living room, trying to make sense of what had just happened. It felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me. I had built my whole life with Lena in mind, imagining a future with her, a future that now seemed completely shattered. I threw my jacket on the couch and grabbed a bottle of whiskey from the cabinet. It wasn't the healthiest choice, but I didn't care. I needed something to numb the pain. As I poured myself a drink, my phone buzzed on the counter.
My heart dropped when I saw the name.
It was my brother, Mark. I stared at the screen, his name flashing, mocking me. I had half a mind to ignore it, but I knew I couldn't.
Not now.
Not after everything. I picked up the phone, my hands still shaking, and answered the call. "Chris," Mark said, his voice sounding tense. "Can we talk?" I closed my eyes, the bitterness rising in my throat. "What the hell do you want to talk about, Mark? What's there left to say?" "I know what happened. I know everything," he said, his voice quieter now. "And I need to apologize. I never meant for it to go this far." I could hear the guilt in his voice, but it did nothing to calm the fire in my chest. "You never meant for it?" I echoed, the words tasting like venom. "You slept with my fiancé, Mark. How do you not know that's fucked up?" I don't know," he stammered. "It just happened, man. And I'm sorry. I don't want to lose you. I never wanted to hurt you." I clenched my jaw, trying to hold back the tears that had started to well in my eyes. I took a deep breath and set the glass of whiskey down, my hands now steady. "You already hurt me, Mark. You destroyed everything. My trust in you. In her, it's all gone." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear the faint sound of traffic in the background, the hum of life moving on while I stood still in my pain. "I understand," Mark said, finally breaking the silence. "And I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't know if I can even forgive myself. But Chris, we're brothers. And no matter what happens, I still love you. I want to make things right, whatever that means. But you have to know I never wanted to hurt you. I was lost too, man. I messed up." I sat down on the couch, my mind swirling with a mix of rage and heartbreak. Mark's words were both comforting and infuriating. He sounded so sincere, so broken, but it didn't change what had happened. I couldn't just forgive him. I couldn't pretend like everything was okay. But despite the anger that still burned inside me, a part of me, the part that was still connected to the brother I grew up with, the one who had been there for me through thick and thin, wanted to believe him. "I don't know if I can move past this, Mark," I said quietly. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again. And I sure as hell don't know if I can trust Lena. I thought I knew who she was, but everything's been a lie." "You don't have to forgive me right now, Chris," Mark said, his voice soft. "But I'm here. Whenever you're ready to talk, whenever you're ready to figure this out, I'll be here." I stayed silent for a moment, considering his words. Maybe it was too soon to decide what I was going to do. Maybe I needed time to breathe, to think, to process everything. "I need space, Mark," I said, my voice firm. "I need to figure this out on my own. Don't call me for a while. I just need time." "I get it," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'll give you space. But just know that I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." "I know," I whispered, my chest aching. "I know." We ended the call, and I sat there, staring at the phone screen. My head was pounding, my thoughts racing in every direction. The betrayal, the lies, the pain, it was all too much to process at once. I stood up, my legs unsteady, and paced around the apartment. The walls felt like they were closing in on me. I needed to get away. I needed to leave the past behind, to escape the pain that was suffocating me. But there was no escape. It was everywhere, all around me. I grabbed my keys from the counter and stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door behind me. The next morning, I woke up with a headache and a foggy mind. The whiskey from last night still lingered in my system, and my body felt like it had been hit by a truck. I couldn't remember how long I had slept or how many times I had tossed and turned, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. I glanced at the clock. It was nearly noon. I had to go to work, but the thought of facing Lena, of seeing her again after everything, made my stomach turn. But I had to go. I couldn't hide from this forever. I got dressed quickly, throwing on a black shirt and jeans. My appearance didn't matter. It felt like everything had lost its significance. The man in the mirror looked like a stranger, a broken version of myself that I didn't recognize. As I stepped out the door, I felt a weight in my chest. I didn't know what I was going to say to Lena. I didn't know how to face her after the way I'd found out the truth. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let her break me. When I arrived at her apartment, I stood outside for a moment, staring at the door. I had so many emotions battling inside me: anger, betrayal, heartbreak. But I also knew that if I didn't confront her now, if I didn't hear the truth from her lips, I would never be able to move on. I knocked and waited. When she opened the door, the sight of her took me by surprise. She looked so normal, so beautiful, so untouched by the wreckage of our lives. Her eyes widened when she saw me standing there, and for a brief second, I saw a flicker of guilt cross her face. "Chris," she said softly, her voice cracking. "I didn't expect you. I need to talk to you," I said, cutting her off before she could say anything else. She nodded, stepping aside to let me in. I walked into the living room, feeling the weight of the moment press down on me. This was it. The conversation that would change everything. "Why, Lena?" I asked, my voice trembling with emotion. "Why did you do it? Why him? Why my brother?" She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She stared at me, her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, I saw the woman I loved, the woman who had once been my world. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she finally whispered, her voice breaking. "It just happened. I was confused. I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't hold back the pain anymore." "You think that makes it okay? That you didn't mean for it to happen?" I could feel the tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "You betrayed me, Lena. You lied to me." "I never wanted to hurt you, Chris," she cried. "I was scared. And when I saw Mark, I didn't know how to stop it. It was a mistake, and I regret it every single day." I felt the anger rising again, but it wasn't just anger anymore. It was something deeper, something more painful. This wasn't just about betrayal. This was about losing the person I thought I could trust the most. "You should have told me," I said quietly. "You should have come to me, told me what was going on, but instead, you let it go too far." She took a shaky step toward me, her hands trembling. "I'm so sorry, Chris. Please, I never meant to hurt you." I turned away, my hands clenched at my sides. "It's too late for apologies. I can't forgive you for this, Lena." And in that moment, I realized the truth. There was no going back. The woman I had loved, the woman I had